Hey there, everyone. I'm Ashlea Bullington, and you're watching The Fifth Quarter. It's our Friday night wrap-up show where we bring you the things that are happening around the Houston sports scene. And it's the last Friday of 2019, as well as the decade. So I'm not ready to move out of football just yet. On this week's episode of The Fifth Quarter, we're going to throw it back to last weekend, where we had two Houston area teams take home state championships. And first off, we've got Shadow Creek, who beat Denton Ryan in the last minutes of the game. It was a great game from both of these teams as Shadow Creek won 28-22. But here's the post-game sound from the Sharks.
And we just, a lot of things have clicked into place for us and couldn't be happier for our kids and our community. It's big.
I'm sorry. How would you describe how tough this 5A1 bracket is?
It was tough. And coming out of the Houston area, we take a lot of pride in the fact that we feel like we played in a very, very difficult district all year. And, felt like when we come out of there, whoever comes out is going to be tested. And so, take a lot of pride and hope these teams tomorrow do great for Houston too.
Coach, when you see that ball finally hit the ground knowing you won the state champion, how's that feel?
Well, it was wonderful, a sense of relief, just tickled to death for our family and our community.
Heart rate doing well?
Yeah, it's about to jump out of my chest.
Coach, we talked about your defense all season long. In the end, it was the defense that helped win the state championship.
Yeah, it really was. Offensively, we had a couple of miscues here and there. We didn't protect the football as well as I would have liked to, but we made the plays when we had to, and defense was just solid like they've been all year.
With a senior class that went through all the long road trips, not playing a real varsity schedule, to finishing their senior career with this.
Yeah, you and I have talked about it before. This is the first group that's been at Shadow Creek for 4 years. They're a special group, a tight bond with them and with the coaches, and just very, very excited for them. A lot of people, you set out goals and you work for them, but it feels really good when things fall into place.
Talk about the perseverance tonight. Both teams really laid it out there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You got to tip your hand to Ryan too. It was a slugfest. Coming in, we knew that both teams were very similar as far as we both kind of prided ourselves on playing really good defense, and I think that showed tonight. It was tough sledding out there for both teams.
How proud are you this morning?
Just extremely excited for them, proud of them.
What's going on this year with you? This group, very special.
It is.
Can you put this into words?
Well, personally, when we were here a year ago, my dad, was battling cancer, died shortly after the season, and just such a feeling for me to know that, he and all his buddies, football fans up there, sitting around, they've got a smile on their face tonight, and just very, very gratifying for me on a personal note. And then second of all, just for our community, the work our kids have done. Like I said, when you set goals, it's wonderful when you have the buy-in and the belief among a group of people and things end up turning out, on the good side. So could not be happier for everybody involved.
A huge congrats to the Sharks as they take their first ever school championship in their very short 2 years. That is such an exciting storyline to me. But up next, we'll have some sound from the two-time reigning state champions, the North Shore Mustangs.
Don't forget to catch our extended coverage of the high school football season each week on The Warm-Up, presented by your local Houston area Geico agents. We will get you ready for all the action this Thursday on all our social media outlets.
It hasn't been done since the early 2000s, bringing back to Houston state championship titles 2 years in a row. Well, North Shore took that challenge and ran with it as they beat the Duncanville Panthers once again in the 6A Division I state title game.
School head coach John Kay. Coach, if you could introduce your two student athletes and coach.
Okay, this is Demetrius Davis. He's a junior quarterback. This is Corey Flagg. He's a senior linebacker. This is our offensive coordinator, Willie Gaston.
Open the floor for questions.
How does it feel, second state championship in a row?
I was preparing for that one outside, and I thought it was coming. We really hadn't talked about going back-to-back or winning championships. I don't know that that's really sank in yet. It's when you coach high school athletes, they change from game 1 to game 15, let alone from year 1 to year 2. So, there's so much crazy change in these kids' lives when you're talking about 365 days. Obviously it's a huge win for the program, and, we're going to continue to build, but every team has its own personality, and so I think we've been focused so much on this 2019 team, trying to block out all the things that come along with winning a state championship last year, that I know personally I haven't really thought about it back to back.
What are some of those challenges and keys to being able to block out last year and really focus in on this one?
For me, it's the advent of social media. Our kids don't really struggle with confidence, and so for us, it's a constant management of finding people, which is very easy to do nowadays, telling you that you're God's gift to football, when the reality is you still have a lot of work to do, both personally and athletically. And I think that's what separates our kids from a lot, is they come from a family and they come from a community that is constantly trying to improve and understanding that the adversity that's in front of them. We don't have a lot of kids born with a silver spoon in their mouth, so they're used to having to earn it day in and day out. So for us as coaches, I think it's a little bit easier for us to manage those expectations because of the way that they live their daily lives.
Coach, can you talk about your offensive game plan?
Well, the game plan was to come out and be able to establish the run game. We've been running the ball the last couple of weeks really well, so that was the game plan, to come out and make sure we get the run game going.
Coach, could you kind of explain what happened while the running back wasn't playing today?
It's high school athletics, and Coach Gast and I are public educators first and foremost. That's why we got into this, and so I don't think there's a person in this room that hasn't done some things that maybe they regret, but for us, that's going to come first. So it's not an indictment on anybody. It's just at the end of the day, we're going to coach the kids that are here. I thought our coaches did a phenomenal job of that. These players, they banded together, and I just think that's the testament to our depth, the way that these kids work, and that's about all I'll say on that.
John, there was a report that it was because of his cell phone and he was sent home. Can you confirm that?
I'll say about that. I'm not going to discuss a teenage kids issues that are going on, because the reality is we deal with that every single day, and so if I'm going to discuss every issue that we've had, we'd be here a very long time. Obviously the stage is what it is, but the integrity of this program comes first. I inherited it under David Amon, and so that's our responsibility to make sure that that's protected.
There's the defense. Like last year was the Hail Mary. This year is that 4th and 1 play seemed like that was the biggest play of the game. Just talk about what went in that, and Corey, you also talk about it as well.
Yeah, we talked about it in our staff meeting about just kind of some third quarter woes that we've had here recently, and I think a lot of the fingers get pointed to the defensive side, but the reality is we've had huge special teams errors that have put us in bad positions. We've had turnovers on offense that have put us in bad positions. So it was a collective discussion about what we can be doing better coming out of the third quarter, and we met long and hard on that as a staff to try and make some adjustments, which I give credit to our coaches, the fact that here we are heading into our second state championship game, and they're still searching for ways to improve and take the next step. And again, I think that leadership spills over into our kids, and our defense has been much maligned lately. All of a sudden, people feel like North Shore forgot how to play defense because we've been playing some explosive offenses, and in situational football, sometimes you step back and allow some things to happen, knowing that what difference does it make if you win by 7 or if you win by 57 when we're talking about the postseason. That's just the nature of the beast, and to see those kids come out in the second half and shut out a offense like Duncanville, and I don't, again, Quentin Jackson is a generational talent. There's no question about it. The kid is phenomenal, but they're dripping with talent, and they're extremely well coached. And for these kids to come together and make those adjustments and execute on the largest stage, I think all the credit goes to them and their coaches.
Just when you got the news that you guys are going to be short of a player, did you kind of feel any pressure that you had to step up a little bit more?
No, I just relied on my running back, Roger Hagan. I just relied on my the next man up, Roger Hagan. I knew he started last week, so I had complete confidence in him. So yeah.
Both coaches.
with your both players.
Demetrius, can you grab
Having
the
played
mic?
on this stage before, how much did that help you coming in here today, sort of knowing a little bit more of like what to expect with the crowd and the team you were facing? Did any of that help?
I just played my game, relied on my teammates and my coaches, and we came out to win.
Same thing Demetrius said. We just played our game. We relaxed. We focused on the ball. We played North Shore football, and we came out on top.
Coach K and then Coach Gast, when you have a quarterback like Demetrius who has sort of been here before, I mean, how much do you think that helps prepare him? And when you are going to be without some of your top talents, how much does it help to have a quarterback like that you can rely on?
Well, having a kid like Demetrius taking the snaps is, you got to feel confident as a coach, knowing how much of an explosive player he is, throwing the ball and running the ball. So, when you got a player like that and a quarterback that can go out there and understand the offense and execute the offense as well as he does, you feel pretty good about it.
Well, coaches, you just talk about Roger Hagan's journey. I guess at this point, last 2 weeks, they're pretty big.
Roger Hagan is he and his family, I think, are just stalwarts in our community. And here's a kid that was a 7th grade B team quarterback, at our middle school, our feeder, and an 8th grade B team quarterback, and worked his tail off at quarterback, and competed with Demetrius for quarterback reps. And you look at him in the weight room, I think that just kind of hit it one day. You just all of a sudden you look at a kid that looks like a grown man because of what he's been taught, just nothing but work. And he has poured his soul into this program. And, for us, we trust him like we would trust any player out there. And he's earned it. And I think when you've earned it like he's earned it, you appreciate it a little bit more. And, again, I think all of us up here, to varying degrees, are in that underdog role. You talk about Willie, who played at North Shore and, was a free agent signing in the NFL and had to earn everything that he did. And I think he appreciated that journey more because it wasn't something that he was just naturally. Obviously you play in the league, you're naturally gifted, but that journey to have to earn those rights, that's Roger Hagan, and that's so many of our kids in our community, like Willie, like Corey, like Demetrius, that I just think it's a great storybook that encapsulates all of us, not just Roger.
Coach, you had a big compliment from Coach Samples that was saying it doesn't matter who you have out there. He basically said, we have seen you score 50, 60 points with a full roster and without a full roster. Can you just talk to us about the stability of this program and what makes this squad special to be able to overcome adversity?
I just think it's the overall depth, like Coach said earlier. It's having guys being willing to step up and accept roles and understand when they got their numbers called, they go out there and perform. And going back to Roger Hagan, being a backup quarterback who still is listed as a backup quarterback and also a guy we can put out there running back. You got two guys like that with him and Demetrius on the field. You got two smart kids on the field that understand the offense and understand where holes should be hit at when it says time to run the ball. And he just did a good job. And I think our overall depth and the way we practice to get guys ready for moments like this, we can't say enough for not just me, but our offense coaching staff, our defense coaching staff. Our job is to get kids developed to play.
Well, talk about like the running backs and quarterbacks. Nobody talks about the size and just the athleticism of your offensive line. They just seem like they get kind of forgotten, but these are some big-time linemen. Talk about what role they played over the past 2 years to get y'all to state champions.
Well, I'll tell you, Coach Lass, our O-line coach, and Coach Amaya, assistant O-line coach, they do a great job with those guys every day in practice. They're hard on them. They're demanding. And those guys are as coached up as, anybody on the field. And, credit to Coach Lass for getting those guys ready. And, we had, trouble at the beginning of the year where we was moving people around. We lost Xavier Delbly early in the year. So we had to piece some guys together, and we had guys step up on that O-line. And like you said, and that's man up with the depth. And I think those guys do a great job getting those guys ready to play.
Coach, Coach, why are you guys so prepared? This has been an explosive offense at times. Why are you guys so prepared to play different styles of football that you can win ugly and you can win explosive?
I don't know that I've ever won ugly, to be honest with you. As we sit up here, to me, it's. I think the creativity of our offensive staff and Coach Gaston specifically, I think, is one of those things that it comes from. I think he's got a defensive background, he's got an offensive background, so he understands how to layer play calling. He understands situational football. He understands how the defense is playing, and the reality is if you ever had an ugly win, it might have been in 2015 when we were, way less talented on offense. And Coach Gaston at the time was our defensive backs coach. And I remember talking to him afterwards, and he said, man, I thought we called a great game. And so many people were talking about the ugliness of that win, and his was kept the clock moving, kept the defense off the field, stayed in great situations, not afraid to punt the ball. That's football. And so I think oftentimes it gets lost in Hail Marys and 58 points, but this is a field position game. This is, historically a war game, for lack of a better word. And I think his understanding of when it's time to open it up and when it's time to put the foot on the brakes, not for the betterment of the offense, but for the win, I think is pretty much the difference.
Is that exemplified by that 3rd and 11 then, after they call a timeout, what you just mentioned?
There's no question. Willie's talking to me on the headsets, and his first thing is, Coach, I want to take a shot here. I think we got it. I know you want to run the ball to make them burn another timeout, but I think we got it. And again, it's one of those when he says he's got it, then I step back. I mean, that's if I've learned anything, it's how to step out of the way and let guys do their job. And so same way it was last year. It was that situation, and it was there, and that was a backbreaker.
Corey, could you take me through that 4th and 1 and what you saw?
Right, it was the same thing we do in practice, man. We go through situations like that on a daily throughout the week, so it was nothing to us. We just lined up. We had our backs against the wall, and we just made a stop.
Corey, for this defense, I know Coach K mentioned over the last few weeks, man, there's been some talk about the defensive unit, but for y'all to shut out Duncanville in the second half, what does that mean for you to end your high school career with that note?
Man, it's a huge blessing, man. I got to tip my hat off to Coach Cross, Coach Wynn, the whole defense coach staff for just getting me right and just keeping me upbeat and keeping the players upbeat and just make sure we know our keys and read our keys and playing ball.
Question from the back.
Yeah, Coach K, it's tough to repeat. Can you put a bow on this season and talk about not just today, but the journey all throughout the season? What are you going to remember most about this team this year?
I think it was our kids' buy-in of what we've been doing as a staff for the last 5-6 years or whatever it's been of just trying to constantly improve and making that the focus. And we come into a game against Katie on ESPN as champs and national and blah 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 blah. And I think our kids found out, as you will when you play programs like that maybe there are some rooms for improvement. And in this day and age, and probably in all of our day and age, it's hard for adolescent kids to take a hard look in the mirror and realize that they have work to do. It's hard for me as a grown man, despite the fact that I do it daily. And so, I thought it was just the maturity of our kids to understand, it's time to go to work. And it's sometimes easier to say when it's after a loss like that. But I think the fact that they did it equally after wins is what separated them and why they were able to overcome the adversity we felt today.
We have 2 questions left.
Demetrius, a lot of quarterbacks want to keep chucking the ball down the field. They want to move fast. They want to put up a lot of stats and stuff like that. In those moments where you guys are bleeding out the clock, how comfortable are you in those situations, just kind of taking it one play at a time, letting it go down?
I was very comfortable. I believed in my teammates. The defense, they were playing really good. So, I just believed in them. I had to run the clock out. The O-line was blocking great. We was getting 4+ yards every play. So, as long as I believed in them, we just got our job done.
And Demetrius and Corey, what was y'all's message to y'all's teammates going into the second half? And then to Demetrius, talk to us about what it's going to take to get the three-peat.
Just 24 more minutes, just had the ball off for 24 more minutes, and we did that. And what it's going to take to repeat, just start in January, get better with the underclassmen, people in my grade, as long as we just get prepared, we'll be good for next year.
I think a huge thing was we got out early, out of halftime. We came out early and we stretched. We stretched real good. We came out, we fired off the ball, and we got a couple of huge stops. And Demetrius did his thing. He was composed and he stepped up.
Could both the players just talk about bringing this title back to the school, to the community? I know you guys play with the community on your shoulders.
They every game, no matter how far it is, them guys love us. So, as long as we just keep putting on for them, we're gonna keep making them happy.
Yeah, man, we got to tip our hat off to our community, man. They gave us a whole sit-on thing, man. We just really appreciate them, from the administrators to the community itself. Dr. Williams, everyone, they love us. They take care of us. It could be anywhere they come to our game.
A huge congrats to John Kay and his North Shore Mustangs as they took home that 6A Division I state title. When we come back, we're going to change gears a little bit and give you some basketball as we have a head coach from one of the biggest schools in the area on with us.
Watch Inside High School Sports to catch this week's Chevy Spotlight, brought to you by your Houston area Chevy dealers. Visit your nearest Chevy dealer to test drive their award-winning products.
And we're back with the fifth quarter. We're going to switch things up now as we are moving into basketball season and the basketball portion of Chevrolet's Inside High School Sports. And we caught up with one of the best teams in the greater Houston area as their head coach talked to us about his squad while he was up in the Metroplex at the Whataburger.
Coach, talk to us about your year thus far. We were talking to LJ a little bit. He said a little bit of a disappointment in the record, but you guys have, it looks like have maybe battled some injuries. Just catch us up on where your team's at.
Well, it's been an up and down year, battling injuries. It's always seems like it's something, but I mean, the thing about our guys, they're resilient. They don't ever quit. They refuse to roll over. So even now we're down to 7-8 guys, but they refuse to quit. So we're playing with those 7-8 guys.
And talk about your team. Yeah, I can take it if you want. Oh, okay, go ahead. Yeah, talk about your team. You just look this way. You started the season pretty highly ranked, and that can be a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, it's funny. I always tell the kids, don't worry about rankings, don't worry about numbers, because the first time you lose a game, then you plummet. And we've had an up and down season, so it just kind of proved what I was trying to tell them. But rankings are good. Rankings are great, but they don't really prove who you are because, no matter what our record is, you never know what you're going to get when we're on the court.
It's a great season in KDISD for football, obviously. All four teams having great years in their own rights. Talk about basketball, districts coming up. What are you seeing there?
We have such great coaches in Katy, and I mean, like, great coaches. Some nights it feels like we're coaching against college coaches. So, it's so unpredictable in our district. People keep saying, we should win it, but we don't look at it that way. We believe we got to go out and play every single game because everybody's going to give us a test. Because of the great coaching, even those that may not have the greatest players are still going to play hard, and they're still going to bring their best against us because great coaches and great kids.
You've got a trio of players who played together for a while now, in Sellers and Cryer and Lampkin. Just talk about what it's like for you as a coach to have them all as seniors now, and this has a chance to be a really special year for you guys.
Yeah, you're right. It's bittersweet. You can't wait to see what happens next year. When they're at the next level, but you hate to see them go also because we built this program around them. They came in as freshmen, and honestly, I became the head coach when they were freshmen, so we all started together. So it's it's bittersweet. You want to cheer them on next year and kind of see, where their careers go, but at the same time, we'll miss them. And it's going to be a huge gap to fill. But the kids come behind them playing hard, and they've had the opportunity to play against these guys every day in practice. So I'm hoping it pays off for, the upcoming years, but it's going to be bittersweet. We'll miss them.
Let's talk about this tournament a little bit. Obviously, couldn't ask for a better start.
Right.
You don't expect anything that easy in tournaments like this, and going forward it's going to be a lot tougher. Do you know who you play next, number one?
I'm not sure yet. I have to check the bracket.
Okay. Number two, how far do you think this team can go? The goal is always to win these things, but at the same time, you're also finding out some things about your team that's going to help you down the road.
Right. I honestly believe that we can go as far as we decide we want to go. We're down. We have 7, 8 or whatever now, but the way they play at times, it's hard to deny them. You know what I mean? And when they decide they want to play hard, who knows what could happen. You kind of want to get through and, get ready to district, because district is really what gets us, what really counts when it comes to the playoffs. But, we'll see what happens. I have a feeling they make up their minds, we'll be okay.
All right, thank you very much. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much for your time, Coach. We are so excited to be kicking off basketball season in the new year, starting next week. But we will have all of the highlights from the state championship games as well as basketball season. We've been at the Whataburger. We've been at games around the greater Houston area. We're going to have all the great basketball highlights coming to you starting tomorrow on KHU 11 at 11 p.m. on Chevrolet's Inside High School Sports. I'm Ashlea Bullington, and thank you so much for watching the fifth quarter.